Here we are to talk about how we can drive this electric future. I'm not referring to the very sexy Tesla, I'm talking about a future where our transport emissions come 2050 have gone to gross zero. Now firstly, just as to why would we do that? So if you look at the red line, that's basically the target, the UN target. So come 2030 we need to get below 1990 levels. Now for transport that's just about a halving of where we are today. So my frame of mind is really how do we, toe our fair share and get to a place where we are doing what the country needs to be doing as a whole. So that's 2030. And then 2050 we're going further because certain other sectors such as agriculture are unable to probably reduce as much as we can. And so therefore entities like transport and electricity probably need to overcompensate. So just sort of talking you through that graph for a second. So as you can see, between 1990 and now, we've had a pretty significant increase in transport emissions. Overall, it's about 17% in terms of the gross emissions. Now, if you take about 9% away, that's aviation and marine. We take another 20% away, that's Andrew there of heavy transport, and still left of about 10 million tonnes annually of CO2 equivalent in the light transport, and that's about 3 million light vehicles. So that's, what we're currently faced with. Now, the reason it's risen is population growth. We've got very high vehicle ownership, and we've got a sort of a flat-lined economy per 100k. So we're not buying more efficient vehicles, we're getting larger vehicles, and the effect is that very, very steep upward trend. So the 2020 point, we've now got from Minister Bridges a goal of 64,000 vehicles. The issue there is we'll have about the same number of petrol and diesel vehicles, so net we probably won't actually have any reduction. So the policy announcement recently is less about an emission reduction, but I would liken it more to turning up to a race, you have to put your shoes on and do it with shoelaces. It's something, sort of a preamble, because we have to build a desire and education and awareness and charging infrastructure and all the rest of it before we can start dipping down and getting to where we need to come 2030 and 2050. Now some of the issues there, so 2030 is going to be really significant. If we wanted to get to where we would be doing our fair share in terms of the country, that would mean we'd have to turn over half of our vehicle fleet in 10 years, and we actually only recycle a third of our vehicle fleet in a 10-year period. So to do that, just as a reference, we would have to ask every person that bought a vehicle between 2020 and 2030 that it must be electric, and we'd have to ask a whole lot of people who weren't even considering to buy a vehicle to do so and have that electric. So that's not going to work. So there will have to be other strategies such as mode shift towards public transport and all the rest for us to play our fair share. 2050, obviously it's just a continuation, and that's where by that stage we'll be able to offset things like agriculture more effectively. So the current policy settings, obviously we've got this initial thing which is about building desire and education and charging infrastructure through a contestable fund and other avenues that might be used. But clearly to make that type of behaviour change, and this is where PWZ comes in, we're working with desire and education, but ultimately you will need to have a very, very strong price setting on petrol and diesel vehicles so that those are pushed out of the fleet. ETS in its own right is not going to do very much. It's worth about $30 a year. So even if you magnify the ETS by 10 times, it wouldn't do very much. There would only be a 300 annual price signal. We'd probably have to get to 100 times, which is unrealistic. So, so that's what we're looking at with that. And I guess some other sort of side factors. Obviously, we also need more things like wind turbines. The increase of EVs in the market, if we went to 100% penetration, would add about 10% to demand. We don't want that all going to Huntley because that sort of defeats the purpose. Yet we've got things like TY and Huntley kind of confusing the matter, and as far as I can tell, slowing down things like the building of a $1.5 billion wind project in the Wairarapa. So there we have it. Just some food for thought, really.